Measurement is a key index for the efficacy of the news television industry in the country. It forms the basis for advertisers, some of whom were on stage a few minutes back, to invest their monies in a news platform. Considered how the system itself has come under scrutiny in the past, its evolution and revision rests in the hands of the able few. Here's a short audio visual on what you can expect from the next panel. All right, may I invite Mr. Shankar to moderate the session? Shankar of Fourth Dimension? Shankar? And joining Shankar as speakers on this panel will be Mr. Shashi Vempati, who's the former CEO of Prasar Bharati, the ex-CEO of Niti Digital, who has also served as an independent director on the board of the Indian Broadcasting Foundation in the past. A technocrat at heart, Mr. Vempati constantly writes on politics, public policy and emerging areas of technology like artificial intelligence and broadband convergence. Joining Mr. Shashi Vempati on the panel will be Mr. L.V. Krishnan, who is the CEO at TAM Media Research. His expertise in the body has held the central media research body for the Indian media industry carve a niche for itself on the global map. Pankaj Mishra is the founder and CEO of Chrome Data Analytics and Media in 2009, which has 6 proprietary distribution tools used by over 100 channels across the industry. And we also have Mr. Narayanan, the CEO of Alliance Nexus Advertising, joining us on the panel. Anil Airur, the Group CEO of Flowers TV, also with us on stage. And Angad Deep, joining us on the panel. Angad, please come up on stage. Shankar, over to you. Over to you, Shankar.
Hello. Can you all hear me? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for being a part of this session. I know a lot of friends in this room, my news friends, are expecting firecrackers and all, and I can assure you that's not going to happen. And you know, the earlier session, we had people asking almost the same set of questions which we were prepared, LV. Okay, now I'm just not going to be making any further delay. Can I have a quick introduction from guys, starting from Angad? A 30-second introduction. It's all done. It's okay. We'll just get on to it. Okay, I just have 2 questions since we have just 40 minutes. The burning issue today in news as a genre, I'm talking from a business perspective, not from content. Okay, content is to be dealt separately. See, most of us, we run, the news channels here. I'm having this question for Narayanan from Alliance. Okay, then we'll just take a roll. What I would like to ask you is, Naru, news today is still bought on CPRP. Okay, for people here, CPRP is basically cost per rating point. Somewhere I feel that on behalf of agencies, on behalf of you're a very strong representative of media agencies, you've been really unfair to us. Okay, the first point is you set a benchmark for CPRP. You have a national template of 1800 or 2000 or 2500, and you bias on that basis. As such, our genre is so small. Okay, ultimately when it comes to a point when you have to bias, the rates, other than a few national channels, I'm talking on behalf of both national and regional, our rates just don't increase. Okay, and a national CPRP of 2000 for a channel which does about 30-35 GRPs, then you can imagine at what rate you would want to buy. Okay, now the point what I want to ask you, is this basically you're trying to, you are actually in a mood not to increase rates, to avoid giving us a rate increase, you have these new terminologies of, national CPRP and so on and so forth. This is posing to be a big problem for us because 80% of the news channels today are FTAs. Our survival depends on people like you. So over to you and then we'll just go. And I'm expecting some gossip reply from you. Huh? We should go. We're all going live.
Firstly, good afternoon to all of you. It's great being here. Coming to the question specifically, my response to that is, firstly, news cannot be bought on CPRP. I think from whatever experience of 30 years and across media, and especially at Alliance, is one of the largest buyers of news in this country. I can clearly say that news is always on ERs and kind of, CPRPs is as a byproduct, by the way, in wherever it comes in. That's one way of looking at it. The other way, I just wanted to bring in a perspective where even if you look at the BARC ratings, by virtue of ratings, news channels delivered much more than news. Music channels delivers much more than news. But reality is whenever there is a burning issue or whenever there is a good cause or a great cause, the whole nation sits up and watches news. So I think that's the reality, which we have to accept it. So news channels cannot be ignored even for a normal FMCG plans and even of kind of a regular plans. So I think one needs to also go beyond ratings, and specifically I can give you some examples of key brands who have built, given the agency I represent, Alliance, there are a lot of brands which are built completely on news. I can give an example of Asian Shoes, which is a very challenger brand in a competing footwear, fiercely contested market, leveraging on only one program for 2 years or just in a prime time slot. And that's built great business for them. So where are ratings? And then there is a disparity between the ratings and actually what works in building a brand. So one needs to go beyond that. And secondly, coming to news specifically at the agency, we have actually looked at very robust and intensive methodology to capture what works. In fact, we do a lot of ROI analytics and a lot of econometric modeling to find out spot placement leading to outcomes. So I think somewhere one needs to move beyond ratings to measuring outcomes for the brand. And given we work with a lot of the new age brands, I think where they have a lot of data, so you match the data of where the spot appears, whether it was a 7 p.m. or a 9 p.m. or a 10 p.m. news, and we could see a delta moving. I think that's where the whole conversation I want to take it. It's like moving away from this CPRP bit to a kind of outcome base. And even within that, let me highlight from whatever analytics we have seen, it's the number of spots per day. The higher threshold spots gives a better response. If you go with very minimum spots on the news channel, it's a complete waste of money. I think somewhere, we need to have robust analytics to actually support and try and test different scenarios where we are able to prove the efficacy of the medium. But from whatever we have seen, news does build credibility, it builds trust to the brand, and it also helps build sales in many cases. So I think that's my response to your question, and if I've answered it the way it was expected, or I hope that is gossip to this question.
Actually, no. But I'll take it because you still you've not been able to. You've given a reply. I don't think it will convince most of the sellers here. Anyway, I'll now come to Pankaj. I'm coming back to you.
Yeah.
Over to you, Pankaj.
Okay, so on the gossip side, it's more of an interesting statistic since I'm a data scientist. Do we have any research, people from research departments? I'm sure there are lots of them, right? So this is very interesting. It's simple maths. The question of sampling size has been done to death ever since LV, you and I used to fight.
That's my next question. So don't let out the answer.
So we can't. There's a research constraint. So during the days of TAM or during the days of BARC, we've come 22 years. I remember LV and I first met at the Leela in Bombay, and we had the same argument on National Geographic not being adequately represented. It's surprising to see that 22 years later the topic is still the same. So I think it is fair to assume that sample nahi change ho sakta. There is a constraint. Ho sakta to 22 saal mein ho chuka hota by now, as Sashi also rightly said. The problem I think is elsewhere on the CPRP, to answer your question. So let's take a real example. If you look at English news as a genre, since Karthik was here, right? So English news, Arora ji. The average reach of English news is about 1% in a week. Means 1% of the total audiences watch English news in a given week. So let's take the sample size of 50,000 meters across the country, and let's take a leading market like Mumbai. So Mumbai would be what, some 2,000 people meters. If the reach is 1%, that means 1% of 2,000 people have broadly participated in contributing to the viewership. So 1% of 2,000 for a market like Bombay is 20 people meters in a week. So are 20 a representative sample? I don't think so, but even if 20 is representative, how many in a day? So you can't divide it by 7 because of duplicated content, duplicated audiences, but that's another 5 to 6 people in a day in Mumbai actually watch the leading English news channel on the panel. How many in an hour? 0. So how do you come to break ratings? Right? Unless there's a huge amount of extrapolation. So in my view, I was one of the first few guys. We did a huge CPRP buy when I was with UTV in 2007 with Palmolive, I think. That was a huge figure. उस समय तक CPRP relevant था because the number of channels were lesser. At this point in time, I think this entire debate of CPRP to me seems flawed. It makes no sense. So
That's what I was asking. So
did I answer the question that it not?
No, both of you, whoever can answer. So which means the point is, you are actually using this as a terminology to bring down our rates even further.
No, I'm not saying. Oh yeah.
I'm saying today. Okay, now another. I don't think I'm using you as a tool on behalf of everyone. See, another point is, every time when an account goes for a pitch, when it goes from agency A to B to C to D, the only thing which comes to us saying that an account has gone for a pitch, rate or come karo. GCs ka, we will not touch, movies we will not touch, but news channel, no, you bring down our rates by, correct, Akshata? I hope you agree with me. So I'm saying, like how he said, Pankaj said, shouldn't we be growing beyond this? I think to counter this, I think Anil, the last man there, will also answer. So, sorry, I just wanted to interrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be growing beyond this. I mean, it's a no-brainer if you're having the same discussion after 22 years. Exactly the same discussion, right? So, there is a huge constraint, and I think Sashi also put it brilliantly. The gap is not technology. Right now, on my phone, I have an audio measurement device. So, if there is any live streaming happening, and that is already being mapped, you can actually know what content is being watched. This technology is not new, right? Zapper had done it in Bangalore. Other companies have done it. We've got it. Audio mapping is much simpler, but the problem is in taking the sample up. So you can take this to millions, but the problem lies in acceptance from the industry. It's not to do with technology, right? So digital is a brilliant example. If you are hell-bent on continuing with the same format, then really doesn't work. So the problem is not BARC or anyone who works with BARC. The problem is the stakeholders wanting to continue with the same terminologies of CPRP. मेरे हिसाब से क्या होना चाहिए? CPRP, in my view, should not be there. News, with all due respect to all the news owners here, if you put it very broadly from a consumer point of view, right, from a viewer, if you do good research, you will understand that हर कोई एक ही चीज बोल रहा है अलग अलग formats में at different points in time. So everyone is giving the same news at different points in time. So it becomes it becomes mostly commodity. The key differentiator on content today or content consumption is availability. How many homes are getting it? That's why FTA content gets much higher reach than pay TV. So I think the best measurement here is to take the availability of content across some 161 million homes, 1. 2, the availability of content on digital, right? So what's being watched on YouTube, on the browser, on an in-house app, or a Z5 or an MX player. You marry all of that data, you have a very strong indicator of how many people are watching which content. And then you have some kind of a quality survey to rate it in terms of quality. As simple as that. I think that will be a much stronger parameter. And then you can come out with better derivatives of CPRPs.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Pankaj just now said, that you have to move beyond these older metrics. Take a 360 view, TV plus digital. Also, I think in India we have not done enough on innovation in content pricing. Think of new models, flexible models of pricing content, especially with so much more consumption happening online on an on-demand basis, where I'm not tuning into linear all the time. There can be different ways of pricing content, and I think that would give you that diversity, and that's probably where you can demand that premium or value. I think what TV9 is doing with the OTT model for English content, news content, I think is very interesting. I think those are the kinds of experiments that you should build on to take this industry beyond these, older constructs which probably made sense a decade back, don't make sense anymore with increasingly hybrid consumption, which is not necessarily, real-time linear. It's more on demand when I want to watch it and on the kinds of devices that I want to watch.
LB, for a moment, think you're the same old media planner from Chaitra and HTA. Have a heart and answer.
Okay, I think news is all about being regional, actually, okay? Local and hyper-local in nature. Okay? In that kind of circumstances, you need to think about, as a body, think about what is the next step that you need to go into, actually. One is having an overall industry measurement at a national level, etc. But given the fact that your reach is all about regional and local, is there a way you can create measurements in those hyper-local areas effectively, cost-effectively, at the same time giving you ROI on your businesses, actually? And that's where technology comes into play, actually. While technology is available, I don't think the industry has used it effectively in nature. RPD is a beautiful, strong solution that's available in the marketplace. Okay? Return path data through the set-top boxes. Return path data through the mobile devices. Return path data through your broadband connected television sets, actually. The world is changing. The audiences are changing. As penetration of set-top boxes has happened since 2018, when the government finally rolled out fully 100% the set-top box regime, 100% of the homes in the country are connected, actually, except for a few homes in Chennai probably. Now, is there a way to exploit that? In the last 6 years, we have had experience using return path data on Tata Sky set-top boxes, actually. Okay? It is incredible. The difference between BARC and return path data is not the fact that the trends are different, actually, but it gives you granular data. Data at a microscopic level, actually. Because you have around 100,000 set-top boxes only in Manipur itself, actually. Okay. So with that kind of a scale, you can dissect consumption data on television even more effectively in nature. Somebody like, say, Sanjeev, for example, who owns cable network, actually, or Jaggi, for example, in Orissa, okay, why not move on to the path of creating set-top boxes that enable you to provide data itself? So you're not then going back again and again to one single body and saying the fact that why is the data not representative of my area? Why is the fact that I'm not able to create usefulness that can give ROI for my business? Okay. Enough of it. You've already spoken about it 100 times, actually. There's no response to that. Move on with your life, because it's your business at the end of the day, actually. And if you cannot rectify your business, then ultimately, there's nobody else who can show you the path, actually. Okay. There are organizations in this country who uses technology, work with platform owners, and create data that brings efficacy and efficiency for organizations to work and get ROI in it, actually. Seek out to them, reach out to them, talk to them, and see how solutions can be created itself. That's what I could say as my point of view on this particular question.
Anil?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to open in a very out-of-the-box way. So generally when we spoke about news, we say news industry. So why we say as news industry? So we should understand this when you are talking about CPRP. See, I will read about the quote about industry. companies and activities involved in the process of producing goods for sale, especially in a factory or special zone. It's not my definition, it's Cambridge University definition. So whether you are producing news for sale as an industry to make profit is my first question. As media owners, are we there to make profit, to make money? Is the first question. Or where do you put a profit in a threshold? So I know this much of money from the news sector. Okay. Or will I stop losses here and I'll shut my news house or media house here? Is the first question. See, in my language, Malayalam in Kerala, I have my news network where I don't play for gallery. Okay. I make profit from regional clients, not from national clients. I do have bar rating, where as per the bar rating I am number 2. As to the perception, I should be number 1. But obviously, the meters are there. Okay, I understood the limitations. No, you cannot be increased in a larger country like India. You don't have that much of resources to increase the meters. But I solved my problem with my retail clients. I mean, Shankar knows well that when I go to national MNC companies, they argue for 100 rupees. 1,200 to 250, 275, 300. So this much of argument. I said, okay. Politely I said, okay. Okay, I said to my sales team, no to take that. In one case, I actually pulled one brand in MNC outside and built a local brand. And I made a share of 5% for them in my market, which is enough for them and for me also. So I don't feel goosebumps when Dettol's ads plays on my network. It's as simple as that. And regarding the technology also, so we started from 2 hours of black and white transition from Delhi in television to this level. Okay. So from analog transmission, from Doordarshan to right now to any, any screen you can view right now. So technology will keep changing. It's not about digital and everything. So whoever wants to be seen on the network can be given space for that. Now, our network right now only can have 13,000 seconds in a day. I have 22,000 almost every day. I cannot carry that. But somebody is asking for a cheaper rate, I won't entertain it. So why should we worry about too much of these things? There are more than 3.25 lakhs of brands in India. So it's a question about how we find out the prosperity clients or agencies regionally.
Thanks, LB. LB, you're also a master in ADEX. Have you ever seen the growth of regional brands? Because of problems like what he's saying, I'm sure Angad has the same, we have, everyone has. There's been a surge of so-called retail brands, which makes most of the regional players, the dependence on national brands far lower. Have you seen a surge in ADEX in the last couple of years?
Between 2019, pre-COVID, and 2022 actually, there has been a phenomenal 176% growth rate in regional advertising actually. Okay. Now, the difference is basically the fact that where are they going actually? Okay. Now bulk of it was in the print category. Okay. Bulk of the regional advertising was in the print category, including the hyperlocal advertisers. From there, they were, till 2019, the next step was graduating into regional television. Okay. Today, it's bifurcated between digital, Facebook, YouTube, and regional television. Okay. So therefore, you have a bigger competitor already over there, okay, in digital, sitting there, picking away all these regional advertisers who have come into print, into hyper-local level, and moving straight into digital instead of regional television. So that's the threat that television and specifically news have. So it's great that that there's a growth of 176% over 3 years, but that is getting bifurcated across 2 different platforms.
How much of that would be on television? Close to 35-40%?
So on television, it's around 60%. So television is not bad, doing bad, but what is happening is the fact that digital is taking a bigger share of that actually. For example, if I look at digital alone, okay, there is around close to 3 lakh advertisers already on digital platform. Okay. Television is just about that, close to around 3.5 lakhs to 4 lakhs actually. Okay. So what is happening is from a zero level, digital has caught up with television completely in terms of sheer number of advertisers at an overall level.
Hello. I really feel that running a regional news channel on the new CPRP basis is highly difficult, because running a regional news channel has a lot of cost involved in it rather than a national channel. Regional channel has to bear a lot of the other costs, has a lot of huge staff. They have to hire, I would say, a lot of HODs and all to compete with it. So CPRP market should be. So CPRP shouldn't be considered in the regional news market.
Sorry, Angad, my point was not on.
No, I'm not
CPRP.
saying. But I'm generally saying it on Shankarji's point.
Yeah. He is actually answering my question.
No, we have to actually run the viral videos to increase the CPRP on the break markets and all that. And considering Punjab doesn't even get the corporate clients, Punjab regional channel. Most of them are covered by the national channels. So we have a huge problem for that.
No, I'm avoiding my first question because Jaggi had asked it in the last session on panel, so I don't want to repeat the same. And we've had enough gyan on panel and all that. So my next question, I think Koor wants to take it. See, we are actually in a market today, we have this multi-device fragmented video consuming and all of that. Keeping those things in mind, is the measurement of today, LV, I think I'll start with you, is the measurement of today outdated, or we as an industry, are we keeping up to pace with the change? And the second point, I guess we have, each one of us can take about 4 or 5 minutes. The second point is, okay, Niranjan is saying something. Second point is, what are the new measurement metrics, LB, should we as an industry expect in future? Quickly in 3 minutes.
Okay. If you ask me frankly whether the present measurement is in keeping pace with the changes in the industry happening in, obviously no, right? Purely because of the fact that audiences are moved on actually. Linear television is no longer the benchmark, and OTT platforms have come into play, streaming has come into play in a big way. For example, we get data from around 3 lakh hybrid set-top boxes actually, okay? 300,000 hybrid set-top boxes spread across the entire country. And what we see is 50% depletion of time spent. Reach is still there for linear television. 50% depletion of time spent on linear content. And where is that 50% going to, the time spent going to? Actually, it's going into the OTT segment actually, or to the streaming segment. Okay? The overall consumption of television or content, not television, content in the home has jumped up by 30% actually. Okay? So video as a platform has terrific future actually, super future. Okay? News within that is an extensively high future actually. Okay? Short form of video. Okay? But where is it going to? From linear to streaming. And in streaming, short form video is taking shape in a big way actually. So what is happening is 2 phenomena are happening. One, the idiot box, which we used to call the television as an idiot box actually. is now a smart box or intelligent box because it's doing everything for you actually. And second, we always call television as a family television actually, right? Family device. It's becoming more personal device actually. When I say personal device, in the prime time, the audience who is watching it, which used to be around 3.5 to 4 members per home, is actually reduced around 2 to 2.5 members actually. The rest 2 members are in front of television set, but not watching television. It's on other devices actually. So therefore, if one were to look at the future actually of television as a platform, question mark. But television as an evolved video platform, great actually. Because there are going to be other devices that are going to compete with television as a screen. Now if I come down to the metric level, that's where things are changing. Okay? You need to move beyond what you're now calling it as a CPRP actually. Okay? Or what is just as a rating. That's a base actually. Okay? Build on top of it. Okay? We have been working on certain amount of data coming up from a metric called attention. I don't know whether I can project 1 or 2 slides on the screen actually for everybody to have a look at it. Yeah. So this is an attention device actually. Okay? Now what it does is, if you go to the next slide, the problem today that you're facing in hand, if you roll into the next slide. Next slide. Yeah. The problem that you face today is the fact that the device that is there, which is giving you ratings, is giving you ratings with respect to, at the best, what is getting watched in the home. Okay. And then it requires an additional equipment to know who is watching it actually. Okay. But yet you don't know whether the attention is on the screen or not actually. This is what Barun called it actually, sometime back in the panel, called impact ratings for news actually. Can you actually get impact ratings for news? Okay. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, next slide. If you look at this, okay, this is a technology that actually catches attention of the audiences onto the eyes actually, into the screen. Which means the fact that when we experimented within 2 markets in India, there were 2 content which actually had a high impact score. Okay, which means that more attention being given to the content on the screen, which was news, and live sports. They had a much more better attention than what general entertainment content or probably even music content or movie content actually had on the screen. So this is exactly what I think Barun was indicating towards Bach, to say the fact that can you upgrade from a basic level, vanilla level rating number to a impact level rating number. Okay. That allows for news to gauge the fact that if I'm getting better attention, even at a low rating level actually, that means the fact that the audience is more engaged than just actually giving you reach or OTS numbers actually. So this equipment is actually installed along with the television meter. Okay. We do it in the RPD box actually, the return part data box. And we collect information on not just television viewing through the RPD box or the set-top box, but we pick up information related to where the eyeball is actually attended to. So that's why when I said the fact that television screen has moved from a family to a personal level, it's because this data indicates the fact that there are 4.5 people who were watching television earlier is now only 2.5 people watching attention on television. The rest 2 are watching other devices in nature. So your metric itself is now moving from reach and frequency to actually attention. And from attention, because you're also on devices along with it, you can actually track e-purchases too actually. So click-throughs and e-purchases can be the next area that can be tracked too.
Yeah. So I'm not in disagreement with LV after 22 years. The point that I wanted to make here is this entire debate about CPRP, about 50,000 people meters, we need to go beyond that. It's 22 years in the same debate. If you look at, I'm throwing in very ballpark numbers, the catch is on consumption of content which according to me as well, the data that's come here is exponentially shot up. In our terms, it's more than 30%, it's almost 50%. So what is changing is the medium of consumption, right? So from cable you are moving to OTT or you're moving internet, but as far as content is concerned, it is only growing. Now the point I'm trying to make, which should be of interest to most of the media owners here, Karthik, Barun, the fact is that the effective rates today are mostly getting determined by representing 161 million cable and satellite homes. Whereas almost 50% of the viewership now is coming out of digital homes, out of OTT, out of browser consumptions, out of your own apps, or out of your content on YouTube, which is not represented. There are broadcasters already using the data for their internal purposes and for selling purposes, which is the incremental data. So if you're operating at an effective rate of 2,000 bucks, you should actually be getting 3,000 rupees because of the additional reach coming out. To you as well. To you, Narayanan. So, so the point is that the content is actually grown, the medium of how it's grown is changed. If you look at broadly global numbers now, and if you look at the digital market, which is almost hitting about $500 billion, and India going by the population numbers, so we are looking at almost 1.4 billion out of 8 billion people, that's 20%. So 20% of $500 billion, you are looking at $100 billion revenue out of the industry. Usme se discount another 20% because we are poor, we are developing, all of that. So look at about some $80 billion, and half of that comes to, even if you take 50% of that of television, that's $40 billion against the existing number of, I think, some $10 billion. So I think there's a huge potential. The mistake that we are doing is, you know, we are battling amongst ourselves, trying to prove that I'm better than you or you are better than me, whereas the reality lies that the entire methodology itself is belittling the numbers, and the true numbers are much, much higher, is what I would say. So I really think that your overall top line should be definitely at least 50% of what they are, 50% higher than what they are, going by both global numbers and the incremental reach, which is not being reported right now.
Shankarji, I feel some member channels would also like to speak.
Quickly.
Some from the audience.
Hi Shankar. This is especially for LV. In the age of digital consumption, where algorithms and data and analytics are slicing and dicing the data far more effectively for the advertisers and in multiple ways, how relevant does these television rating mechanisms stay, including yours? Because, you know, you are really trying very hard to actually deduce it to a conclusion with your methodology. In that case, everything is deduced per se, per click, per visit, and so on and so forth. So what is the future? I mean, you know, we already have these solutions like what he's saying. It's already there. So why do we need to replicate it at all?
It's not replication, actually. You're adding. Okay. I think I was mentioning in the first question, I was mentioning about this case of last discussion that happened on Manipur, actually. Okay. That BARC may not have enough sample representation in Manipur to represent the audiences over there. But we know the fact that 100% of Manipur homes are digitally connected, either from a set-top box or through the mobile devices, actually. Okay. We work with a couple of platform owners on set-top boxes. I'm talking about, when I talked about this data, I'm talking about 300,000 homes, actually, data coming in from where segregation is happening to understand what is the behavior patterns are given out. So when you have around 100,000 homes of Manipur getting completely taken away by return path data, which is 1/10 of the cost of investment of even 10,000 people meters in that particular market, actually, why not use it, actually? Okay. It just requires a middleware in those boxes to upgrade that. At the end of the day, news is all about local, regional, hyper-local in nature. And if you want those advertisers to come into play and not be on any other genres, actually, the data from these kind of devices can actually give you much more interesting thought than actually having a cost of implementing a panel with high sophistication new boxes put into play.
But you would agree that it's limited to the television screen only, and it's driving the data?
No, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that, actually. So what happens is when we do cross-screen measurement actually, for example, the first cross-screen on audio, we are working on it to release it next year actually, early next year, which will give you indication between radio stations listened on FM with streaming stations being listened on mobile actually, together in nature. Okay. So what it gives you therefore is an amplification of consumption pattern between two devices, and it can go beyond two devices as more devices enter. For example, connected TV. Okay. So the minute the connected TV coming in and smart boxes goes off actually, set-top boxes goes off, it's picking up data from the connected TV and adjoining it with the mobile content and checking out what exactly is the behavior pattern.
So pardon my ignorance, I need to ask another one because so all we're talking about is how to measure linearity of content. Ultimately, it all boils down to what is the viewership when content is streamed in a linear manner.
No.
And that is the focus, right? Is that what you're saying?
No. What is getting viewed by the customer, whether linear or non-linear? It's a video consumption actually. It removes linearity and non-linearity out of the box completely. It's just video consumption, whether it's going to be on YouTube the consumption is, or whether it's through the cable operator or the DTH or the connected TV part of it actually.
So all across platforms, it will report it as and when. Exactly. So it's not at a particular point in time, it's an ongoing process.
Exactly.
I think इसमें दो चीज और हैं. Just two more things from our limited experience.
Pankaj, quickly in 120 seconds.
Yeah. Anything which comes to a panel, right, has its own limitations. The moment you open it and democratize it and it runs into millions, the data is much more accurate. If you look at any form of measurement basis iOS, it's all blocked. And if you look at anything on Android, Google is monopolistic. So you'll crack some kind of a technology, in 3 months it's gone. The only thing that is working now across almost 1 million respondents, the incremental reach that I spoke of, is mostly a hybrid model. Hybrid model mane, you can gauge the platform on a mobile phone in terms of which application is running on the front or on a smart TV. And to understand the content, what was watched, either linear or recorded, that is mostly survey based. And the chances of someone lying are low. So once you extrapolate that to 1 million, that should answer and gives you a hybrid model of consumption across all platforms, linear, recorded, and with a sample which is huge. And it can run into millions and millions, like the RD model, the Reader Digest model, where you have people just enrolling and just, pressing a button every day, and you have like 10 million participants. So that could be a much more robust model.
Great. So I think we will wind up this with Sashi. 120 seconds.
Yeah. So as consumption is going hybrid, I think measurement needs to go hybrid as well. So you will see increasingly, use of sensors, AI algorithms to come up with new metrics. For example, just like attention, why not measure trust, right? When news breaks, which is your most trusted source that you tune into? How do you measure that? Also with new technologies like 5G broadcasting, your broadcast stream itself could become measurable, just like internet streaming, right? So all these are new possibilities. So definitely the future of measurement will see much more hybrid methods using sensors, AI, and new technologies like 5G broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for a great session. Over to you, Niranjan.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shankar. Thank you, Shankar, for that. Thank you, Mr. Shashi Vempati. Thank you, Mr. Shelby Krishnan. Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you, Mr. Narayan. And thank you, Angad. Ladies and gentlemen, up next is a panel lined up to discuss the future of TV and digital media. Technology has enabled the merger of linear and non-linear platforms, and convergence is the order of the day. But will it lead to monopolies originated by deep pocket players, domestic and globally? While that is a matter of worry, it's heartening to note that digital play has given rise to new age media entrepreneurship and innovation. New formats are on the anvil and storytelling has got a new lease of life. Is the way forward for converged entities or standalone digital products. Now many of us know that it's not just TV, but we rely on a digital future as well. Here's a short audiovisual and then we have a keynote address. Over 700 million internet users, the advent of 5G technology. The technological foundation of Indian news is evolving. A churn like never before is on. Digital cannot be divorced from broadcast.